everybody, my name is Cheri. Welcome to my stamp studio for what is catalog kickoff week if you are watching this the first week of August. So this week we will kick off the holiday catalog. It's now known as the July to December catalog, but it didn't start in July. It started August 3rd because of COVID, so not everything was available, so they moved the start of the catalog to August. So this first week, if you are watching and it's still August 3rd or 4th, I have additional thank you specials. I have thank you specials every single month. So if you purchase from me, you're part of my VIP video club for the following month. So you get extra videos, and depending on how much you purchase, you may get supplies for 1 or 2 extra projects. You always get thank you gifts, thank you cards sent to you. But if you're purchasing on the 3rd or 4th, then you get all of the regular stuff plus some extras. So you want to make sure you hop over to my website and check that out. But also, for the very first time ever in August and September, we're having a summer celebration. So if you've been a customer of Stampin' Up! Anytime at all, you know every winter in January, February, and it used to be March. This past year was just January and February because they extended it for a summer celebration. So you get, for every $50 or $100 you spend, then you can pick some free items. So I'm gonna be doing a card from our celebration selection in just a second for you. But before I do that, I want to remind you that I do have an online class that will be closing this week for registration, and it's the Peaceful Cabin. These are not cards that we will make in the class. When you do my online classes, you never get to see the projects unless you're in the class. So these are just some ideas that you can have, and both of these tutorials can be found on my channel. And the supplies that we're using in the Peaceful Cabin online class are blending brushes and clear embossing powder. So as you can see, neither of these use those. So this will be just some additional stuff that you'd be able to create with your supplies once you have that stamp bundle. But I did want to remind you that that's closing, so you'll want to go over and get registered for that before it's finished. So I can open this now because it's the catalog is started. We're not allowed to show you inside of the catalogs ever until they're live, but now once this video posts, this will be live. When I'm filming it, it's still not live, but by the time I put it up on YouTube, it is. So I am going to use the Summer Shadow dies. And part of the reason I'm going to show these to you early is because there are 3 items. Our celebration items are always while supplies last. Now, Stampin' Up! Makes the stamps, so they usually make it pretty close to the end. Sometimes, like if it gets down to the last day or 2, they might not make an additional amount because they are while supplies last, and it's not sometimes business savvy for them to do it right at the very end. Most of the time, the stamps are good. Sometimes the paper, a lot of times the other things like that can sell out depending on where the paper's coming from and who's making it for us. So there's 3 items that they suspect may sell out before be gone because they're free before the end of celebration. One is the Summer Shadow dies. One are the sheep dies, which I've already shown you, and the other is the bedazzled paper, which I have shown you and will continue to show you. So if any of those 3 items are one of the things that you have that you'd like to select for free, select them early on in the August-September period, and then leave maybe some of the stamps and some of the other papers towards the end. Now I do have here's the bedazzled paper. I do have a penguin class coming up, and my penguin class will include the paper, and that registration opens at the end of this week. So if you're interested in getting the penguin, it's not my choice of class for August, but because I don't want to chance the paper running out, I'm going to go ahead and schedule that early so we don't have any supply issues with the paper or with the punch, because I'm afraid the punch might go in back order. So registration for that will open soon. And I have posted a couple of really cute cards on my channel with that. And also on August 3rd, I will have posted a walkthrough of both this catalog and the holiday catalog to kind of show you what I've made, kind of show you what I'm thinking for future online classes and for my upcoming fall retreat. So this, I'm going to use the shaded summer dies that are free with a $100 purchase, and they coordinate with the shaded summer stamp set that's in the annual catalog. So I don't know if you have this. You might already have it. You might not have ever noticed it. You might have thought, where in the heck did you get that from? It's from the annual catalog. Has fabulous fonts, some really fun fonts. The one I'm going to use today says above and beyond. You go there a lot. I like when we have some cute little fonts that say things we often say, but in a new and unique way. So the supplies for this are really simple. I'm going to use, this is a half a sheet of our watercolor cardstock. So it comes 9 inches by whatever this is. Oh, it looks like 9 by 6, I think it is. And I've cut it in half, so it'd be 4.5 by, I think, 6. So we're gonna use that. I'm going to take the dies. We're gonna do this part first, so we're gonna need to use our die cut machine twice. And of course I don't have it set up for the dies because I've got it where I ended from the card that I've already made. So I'm gonna put this on here to cut the dies out. And you can fit everything you need for one card on here just perfect. So the dies do come so they cut out the images in the stamp set. And then I have pulled this label. This is from the seasonal labels, which you'll find in the holiday catalog as well. It's one of the Christmas sets. It's beautiful. And I have a card that's ready to be filmed. I haven't filmed it yet. So we're going on vacation next week. So between this week and next, I'm trying to get cards made so I can show you on the walkthrough and filmed so they can be up this week and next. But see, you have plenty of space to get all these on a half sheet. In fact, you could get a couple of extra leaves if you want. Just for time's sake of filming of the video, I'm just doing one. So I'm just gonna lay these on here. The watercolor cardstock is different. It's got a really heavy texture. It's got some like dimpling to it. So you just need to run it through once though. It is heavier, but it cuts through fine just in our cut and emboss machine. If you don't have a cut and emboss machine, Celebration, great time to get it. I'm gonna show you several ideas in here. And normally these come more into play when a brand new catalog is kicked off. I'm sure you all have lots of things on your wish list already from the holiday catalog. You're like, I don't need any more ideas. Don't give me more ideas for just things that are necessities, but not necessarily fun. So got that. And then I'm gonna take our mini grid paper. This is another thing if you're just looking for something to bump yourself up to another free item. Now the way the free items work, when you get free things from me, I do let them accumulate. So if you order $100, $110 early in the month, and then later in the month you bump it up, I let them accumulate. It doesn't work that way with Stampin' Up! And their celebration items. Everything you order has to be ordered in one time. So if you're looking for an extra $10, then this grid paper, I don't know if it's $10, but if you're just looking for some small items, I'm gonna kind of give you some ideas. But I love my grid paper. I use it all the time. If you follow me, you see me stamp on it often. It's just a nice little way to line up your stamps when you put them on your block. Just popping these out here. You can see the two that had the that stayed in. The rest of them just all popped out. And even though this is a nice thick paper, they still popped out. So, and then I have a quarter, well, it's 4 by 5 1/4 sheet of shimmery white cardstock. So we're gonna do all of our working on this, get that ugly plate out of there because that has seen much better days. Then I'm going to use a water painter. Another thing that if you have a lot of stuff and you're just looking for one small item to bump you up, we've used water painters in my last couple of retreats. I love them, love them. And there's a lot of things that you can do that's really fun with them. So let's start with our lightest colors. Now this is stamp sets called Shaded Summer. It just kind of put me in the mood for summer. I have my window open so you can probably hear the cicadas out my window. So I have crushed curry, and I have taken another thing. This is the perfect thing when you need to bump yourself up to 50 or 100 to get refills in the colors that you need. So I just squirted some of my refill into the lid. And if you don't have refills for all your colors, especially when they're in colors, but you need them for all your colors, because then that way you have the color that you need when your stamp pad is not stamping pretty. And if you're stamping a watercolor cardstock especially, it needs to be really well inked. So with this, it says push. If you're in my retreats, you know this because we've used them a lot. And people are like, I can't make my water painter work. You have to push, and then when you release on it, that's when the water comes out. So see, you get lots of water. And don't worry about it being in your lid. If you have too much water like this, then just sop a little bit out. So I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna do this large flower in my crushed curry, because I just went for kind of a retro 70s color feel for this. So you want to have all that water on there, because if you don't have a lot of water, then the first place it hits, it's just going to be, oh, there's some crushed curry. And you want it to have, at first, give it like a good layer of color. So we'll first give it the color and get the paper wet so it doesn't do that soaky thing. Now we'll grab some of that. And you can smash your ink pad, so now you can see where it's getting darker, and get the ink on the top. But to do this technique, it's really hard to get enough color. On this one, I'm just gonna kind of go here in the middle and get this. I'm gonna let my tops of the flowers be darker than my lights, just for a little bit of shading. Go back over here. Kind of hit those, and you can tell that was a lot of water that I put in there, and a lot of water that I put on the watercolor cardstock. If you tried this on white cardstock, it would just kind of be destroyed at this point. So then to clean it, I just take a tissue or a wet wipe, and you can see that it's pretty yellow, and just squeeze the water out. It's just water, you're not wasting anything, and you can see that it's squeezing, and then just kind of pull on it, and now it's not, and then squeeze it once more, and now it's coming out clear water. So super easy. So you don't need a ton of water painters, or you can. I have a few. They come in 3 sizes. The pack comes in 3 sizes. Now I'm gonna move to Poppy. You can see I've already squirted my little Poppy refill in here. There's so many things that you can do with the refill besides refill your pad, but you need it so you can refill your pads. Again, you wanna get your water, so squeeze down where it says push, let that water come out, and then raise up, and then the water's out. So get a nice bit here, wash over it. Come back over here, wash over that one. When you have the Poppy light like this, it has that fun orange, like a 80s kind of red orange to it. I love it. So let's get this a little darker because it's the back one. Just let that soak into the paper. And look at that, I mean, you can get this red because we're gonna get rid of it in just a minute. Now you don't wanna put the lid back on with one of these dark colors on it. And grab this here. And look, some of that have that pink tinge. Get this out. And then just pull it. Now I have gotten a phone call before or something, and you walk away from the table and you come back, and if you don't get the reds or one of the purples or something, it can get your brush to stay that color. But you can see as it drips out, the water is starting to drip clear. And that's what you want. Once the water drips clear, then even if your brush has stained a little bit, then it's pretty clear. See, now the water's coming out clear. So we're good. It can get on your hands, but that's mostly coming from, because once I decided what order to film, I was like, I probably shouldn't do this first, but I wanted you all to see. I'm gonna get a clean tissue. I wanted you to see this in case you wanted it first. I didn't want you to wait since it's a $100 thing and then later come back and be like, oh, it's sold out. Now I'm gonna go to Misty Moonlight. This one I'm gonna do a tad bit different. You can see I didn't put any refill on this one. This one I only squished the pad because I don't want very much. I want this flower to stay very light blue, kind of a coneflower blue. So very light, and then I'm gonna get right here where there's a little bit more and just kind of let that bleed. And it's a real fun effect you can do where it just pulls into the water itself. So that one's done. I have shorts on, and where I laid the poppy tissue on my leg, I now have red ink on my legs too. So there you go. Sometimes stampers don't only have ink on their hands. In the summer, in the winter time, I would have had my pajamas on, so it would have happened to my pajamas. I wouldn't have laid them on good clothes. And now I have garden green. And you can see with this, my water was all over here, and I put quite a lot of that. And the reason I did, you will see in a minute when I go to stamp, is this really needs to be re-inked. And it's just as easy if you're painting to go ahead and do it this way, and then just smush it in there to re-ink your pad. And you get that water. Let me do this light one first because this is the top. So you can see here where you hardly pull any of the color in, it keeps it really light of whatever color you're using. It's so fun. but you do need the watercolor cardstock. You could almost do this with the shimmery white, but that's about the limit of the water that you could put. When you come back for a second coat, you'd have to be really careful. And let's get this darker on here. And then look at the difference between those by how much water you put. Get those. And again, you can see what it's done to my brush, but we're okay. We've gone from yellow to poppy to blue. Let's squeeze this out. Now I can get some green on my hands. And before I lay this back on my legs, I'm gonna throw it in the trash. So just keep squeezing it out. And then we're good. This is the point where, especially if you're lazy like me and you're creating, that sometimes I stop. See, it's almost clean again. And I just put the lid on it because I don't know if that I'm done with the card. And that's when it can stain your brush tip. But look, we're pretty good. My hands, on the other case, no, but hands can be cleaned. Brushes can too. So now let's set this aside. When I did my card a second ago, I realized these needed a bit of time to dry before I did the next step. So even though I would have liked to have stamped first, so I only had to do the cut and emboss machine once, the drying time changed it. So on this, I used my grid paper. I should have done it again. And I made sure that my stamp was lined up straight along the lines, because this is a cling stamp. So you can use your Stamparatus or you can do it like this. And then just go on here and line that up straight. Well, not terribly straight, but we can make it work. It's always hard when I can't put my hand over it. Now for this, I need to ink this. And you know when our things, our stamp pads, now this is on the bottom because our stamp pads are stored this way. So for a minute, I'm going to store it this way and I'm gonna smash this in here. And I'm just gonna let it set upside down for a few minutes, and then that stuff that I've put into watercolor with will all go in and re-ink my pad. Now I'm gonna take my shimmery white, and I'm going to do a distressed look of stamping. So let's go back to our crushed curry. So I don't want these to stamp well, which is a good thing because what I discovered as I went to stamp with both my garden green and my crushed curry, that they both could stand to be re-inked. So you can see I'm pressing pretty hard. Good sign when you press hard. That stamped better because now it's got some of that in it that I let soak in. I just want to press barely on this one and then barely on this one. So I like it to look like that. And that is how all of it looked the first time because I hadn't let any of that, but I did do this a second ago, so it's gotten a little better on the re-inking. My Misty Moonlight's good because it's new, because it's a new color. Yeah, I'm just kind of giving it makes me feel my grandparents had a cottage. I do need this. While we were growing up, a cottage on a lake. And this just kind of reminds me of some of the decorations my grandma had. Just around. So just kind of pressing. I'm not pressing all the way hard. I don't want the images to be full. Just like that. Then I'm going to take the, I could open the catalog and look, but now that the catalog has started, I can also put the supply list. I think it's called the Time Worn Texture. Is this embossing folder. You want to line it up. And remember with our embossing folders, the Stampin' Up is right ways because you want this one to go press the right direction. So the words are pressed out. Put it in here. I'm going to use the gray folder and send it through, but I'm not going to move all this out of the way. So I'll fast forward. And then look how pretty that is. It just adds to that kind of rustic cottage vibe. And then let's see if these are dry. I might have to let these sit here a second longer. Okay, I'm gonna let them sit and then I'm gonna fast forward it. And when we come back, I will have popped all of these little things out. Okay, so I've popped all of these out. I probably just let them sit here for maybe 3 minutes. Not long. I should have gone and washed my hands. But then your hands are kind of wet and then you're messing with paper. And I didn't want to dry them with the heat gun because it can fade the color, and don't you love that color? I didn't want to mess with it. So now we just have to put the card together. So I'm going to use, I have some Misty Moonlight cardstock for my base. I'm gonna go ahead and mount this on here so we can go all the way out to our edges. I'm just gonna use my seal. And then I'm gonna add my little banner with some dimensionals. And I'm gonna just do it over on this one edge so I can kind of put some flowers underneath the other. And you can see how it was a little crooked, but that's okay. I'm going to put my words on straight. Here's a way to save it when you stamp a little crooked. Put your words on straight, and then the flowers will help the banner not be so obviously crooked. You don't want your words to be crooked. And then I have, this is out of the holiday catalog, and it is called Diamond Weave Ribbon. Again, it gives that fun cottage 70s kind of, we went to the lake house feel. I think it's a little bit Scandinavian, maybe, that kind of look that my grandma had her stuff. She had a little thing that hung on the wall, and it had kind of these patterns in it, and it was a little scoopy broom, and you could brush off the table. Not that anybody has to brush off their table, but it was our favorite chore because you got to use the little tiny brush and scoop it into the table, and it had these little designs on it. So I just have some seal in here. I'm going to lift this part up because it doesn't have any dimensionals back there. Now we just have to build our flowers, which are super, super easy to do. So I'm going to start with the yellow because it's the biggest. You always start with your biggest design and work down. Just add some seal. And look how when you do the back design darker and the front design lighter, how that just is, the colors play off of each other. So much fun. Just gonna add some adhesive here. I don't want to cover my words. Put that there, and then start with the next biggest, which would be this fun poppy flower. And again, we have the lighter one on top. Now I have ink and adhesive on my hands. And this one I'm going to stick under, just a tad. I don't want to lose a lot of my flower because it's so pretty. Stick that under there. And then look, this hand's not so dirty. Look how pretty that is when you just let the water bleed out for you. And this one for you, I did not pop out those center dots, and they stay in because it's the watercolor cardstock. And that is also why I left it all in, because you can see everywhere that it bled on itself. It kind of darkens those edges. If you do that, actually I'm gonna use stuff's blowing off my table because the window's open. It has a nice breeze. It's beautiful here today. But if you pop those out first, then you don't get the option to leave them in because I left those in as well. But it also just darkens the edges as it kind of seeps in there. I'll take this tiny little one, which I lost. It's somewhere on my table. It's not on my first card because I can't find it. My first little leaves. Add that one here. And again, the leaf is my favorite because the depth of color that you get from a little bit of green ink and a whole lot of green ink is just stunning. Oops, well, you know the nice thing with this, you can tell it's still pretty wet, is that you can fix this because all we have to do is put this on here. Don't ever think, oh, now I have to throw that away because it broke, because that's on there. Just pick this one back up and stick it behind this one, and nobody even knows it's broken. What we do. Y'all know mine's broken. Nobody else is gonna know that's broken. But I do need to remember now to be careful with it. Don't want to cover up too much of my ribbon, but I definitely want to see these fun leaves. There we go. And then one more little touch. And again, I'm going to go back to the annual catalog. I mean, this is the stamp set itself is from the annual catalog, so we were able to take advantage of a label from the holiday that doesn't have anything to do with the holidays, and some ribbon. And this is from one of the autumn sets. I'm going to get the red rhinestones that are just from the annual catalog. I think that maybe originally when they came out, they were in a Christmas thing. I don't remember. We've had these for a while. I'm just going to add 3 red. And again, we don't have any red on this card. But these just are a little pop of color. I thought about putting them on the blue flower, but there was a lot of space on the crushed curry flower. So there you go with some free dies. Here's my other one. Up close, if you could see it close, when you put the shimmery cardstock through a folder, it kind of presses that shimmer out. It's a really pretty effect. So super fun techniques for all of you that have been in my last couple of retreats and have some water painters, pull them back out and try it. In fact, it would work. This card, you could almost replicate it with it if you have the one that, I don't remember it now, the one that says happy, that stamp set. You could almost remake this very similar card with that. So go check out the catalog walkthroughs for both the celebration and the holiday catalog. Make sure you know all of the free things that I'm giving away. Get an order in on the 3rd and 4th. And then remember, you can continue to accumulate if you don't get quite up to those higher levels with your first order in August. You have all the way to the end to get to them. And Stampin' Up's giving you free things too if you hit those higher levels. There's lots of free things, lots of stuff to be had this month. So everybody have a great day, and I'll catch you back here later.